Okay, so first for a mic check, just tell me your first and last name.
Sure. My name is Zack Smith.
Awesome. So you're a Pensacola native. Do you live in the area currently? Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I do. I'm a lifelong resident of Pensacola, Florida. I was born here, went to school here, met my wife here. So I live in Pensacola. I travel a lot for work right now, but Pensacola is home, and I'm very glad to be able to serve on both the PSC and UWF boards.
Okay. Talk to me about your plans on being able to do both. How are you going to be able to serve on both boards?
Well, look, I think there is some synergy there to be able to serve on both boards. Obviously, PSC and UWF have a partnership. They've worked together in the past as well. And I think most importantly, we have to make sure that students have access to affordable education and that we're working with industry to make sure that students are able to get high-paying jobs when they graduate from either PSC or UWF, and hopefully continue to live and work in our community here.
Talk to me about the time that you've served on PSC's board, kind of some of the things that you've spearheaded or kind of wanted to implement there. Talk to me about your time there.
Sure, so I'm still learning what's happening at both PSC and UWF. Obviously, I've had some questions about certain policies and procedures at PSC, particularly as it pertains to sabbaticals, so we're working to get more information about that. And the same thing at UWF. In the board meeting yesterday, I raised concerns with Dr. Saunders over some prior actions, some policies that UWF has in place. I've asked for more information about certain of those policies, and I look forward to continuing the conversation both with Dr. Meadows at PSC and Dr. Saunders at UWF.
Okay. One of the things that you had brought up was a Facebook post back from 2019. I think it pertained to an event called Drag Me to Hell.
That's right.
Talk to me about this, and why do we think it's important to bring up something from 2019 per se?
Well, look, it's clear that the university, they co-sponsored that event, so it was presented by one of the university's official offices, and it appears there's a pattern of problematic actions at the university during that time period. And if you listen to what I said at the board meeting yesterday, I asked Dr. Saunders how those actions occurred, why either her faculty or her staff thought it was appropriate to post those things, and more important, since she herself agreed that some of those posts were problematic, what procedures and policies are in place to make sure that something similar does not happen again in the future. And so I didn't receive a satisfactory answer to that yesterday. Dr. Saunders did say she would get more information for me, and I look forward to receiving that information.
It was kind of a heated discussion yesterday. One of your fellow trustees said you were probably the most radical person that he knew. Give me a response to that.
Well, certainly we all have entitled to our opinions. I disagree with that. I encourage everyone to please go read for themselves things I've written and spoken about. And you know, I do appreciate Trustee Scott saying to keep the focus on the students. That's certainly my goal, to make sure that both UWF and PSC, we're providing, again, affordable education to students who are then able to use that to find good paying jobs in our community. And I look forward to working with Trustee Scott and the Board of Trustees and everyone else to accomplish those goals.
Trustee Scott said that these conversations may not have totally been effective or gone in a direction that would have furthered something or to get something done in a timely manner. How are we going to conduct better conversations going forward, or to make conversations more conducive?
Well, I would disagree with that characterization. I think, as I said at the board meeting, it's important to ask sometimes difficult, sometimes uncomfortable questions. I suspect some of the members of the board, some members of Dr. Saunders' staff may be uncomfortable with some of the questions about policies that took place while they were overseeing the university. And so I would disagree. I think these are very important conversations to have, and unfortunately, I think some are seeking to avoid having these difficult conversations.
What are some of the most concerning things that you have found at UWF that are pertaining to diversity, equity, and inclusion? What have you found?
Well, certainly, I'd encourage everyone to go look at my X thread. On X, I'm at TZ Smith, where I laid out many of the things you mentioned. I posted the screenshot of the Drag Me to Hell event that was hosted there. I posted some of the problematic, uncritically recommended book recommendations that UWF librarians had made. I flagged another social media post where a Marxist organizer was, again, uncritically promoted to students. And so I encourage everyone, don't take my word for it, go look for yourselves and see if these types of uncritical promotions of these very problematic ideas and individuals, whether that is in fact something our community would support.
Okay. Governor Ron DeSantis called out a grant also this week pertaining to something that had the word social justice in its abstract and title. That was a grant from 2017. around that time, similar to 2019, DEI was something that was wanting to be seen inside of the schools. If it's something that was accepted or pushed to be in the school then, and it's not now, do we think that we're giving UWF enough time to come up with those standards to get away from that? Do we think that it's fair to bring up something that old when at the time it was accepted and wanted?
Well, one, my understanding is that grant was still active and ongoing at UWF. And the other thing I would say, even if we accept the framing that some level of DEI was required at the time, many of the actions and programs that I flagged to Dr. Saunders yesterday went well beyond any minimum requirements. And I think there are very real questions, even if you were to accept the framing of whether that was required or not, just from a prudential matter, whether those were appropriate posts to make. And my view is certainly that they were not.
Okay. Governor Ron DeSantis also compared this to something that we saw at New College a couple years ago, where there was a new board that immediately ousted the president. Are the plans to get rid of Dr. Martha Saunders?
Well, look, I think the Board of Trustees, we have a duty to do what is best for the students attending UWF. We have to do what is best for our community, and going forward, that will certainly be what guides my actions as I look and evaluate what is happening at the University of West Florida.
Anybody that comes into one of these seats is, I don't want to use the verbiage up against, but there's a ton of public spectators on these seats. We see the grassroots organization Save UWF. There are people watching our post saying that in particular, there was one comment that saw that you had been with the Heritage Foundation, and immediately at that, they were not interested anymore. They said they weren't going to read anymore, and they didn't want you in this position. Kind of what's your response to how the climate surrounding this seat has?
Well, what I would say, in my capacity as a trustee for the University of Florida and as a trustee for Pensacola State, I speak for myself and only myself. I'm serving in both of those seats in my individual capacity. And look, when I heard Save UWF raise some of the concerns previously, when I heard Dr. Bentz raise some of her concerns, one of the primary concerns I heard was that the other trustees were not from our area. They didn't know the values of our community. I am from Pensacola. I'm a lifelong resident. I've served our community as an assistant U.S. attorney. I know the values of our community, and some of what I've seen at the University of West Florida does not reflect the values of our community.
Okay. So, in addition to you being a lifelong resident and serving our community here directly, what else makes you the perfect fit for this board seat?
Well, I care deeply about both Pensacola State and the University of West Florida. My wife and my mother both graduated from Pensacola State. My father graduated with his MBA from University of West Florida. I've taught at both schools, and so I have a vested interest in making sure that both of these schools are successful, that students have access to great opportunities at both schools, and that we can make both of these institutions some of the preeminent institutions, not only in our state and our region, but across the country as well.
Talk to me about your time as an adjunct professor. What are you teaching and how long have you been doing it?
Sure. I have taught American government at both Pensacola State and at the University of West Florida. I've been doing it for many years now, and I thoroughly enjoy getting a chance to talk to students, particularly freshman students in many cases, about the things that make our country great.
All right. And then kind of what are some of the other visions that you want to implement at UWF, or what do you want to see happen?
Well, I would refer everyone again to my ex-post, but again, I think making sure that students have access to affordable education, making sure that we're partnering with industry to make sure that students are meeting the needs for local businesses, that students have access to opportunities, and I'm particularly excited to work at both PSC and UWF to make sure that active duty military members and veterans have the ability to come to both institutions to get opportunities either while they continue their active duty service or as they transition back into civilian life.
There have been two appointees that have resigned, Yenner and Gates Garcia. Do we agree with those resignations? Kind of give me a response to that.
My focus is on what's doing best for the University of West Florida going forward. I'm coming in, I'm gathering information, and I'm excited to move forward and find solutions to many of the problems that I've seen so far.
Save UWF has also raised concerns specifically about Yenner and his views on women in education. Talk to me. You, in a previous meeting that I had watched, one that you had in Tallahassee, you said that you're most proud of supporting people getting an education no matter their gender, no matter their race. Talk to me about women in education, kind of your views on that.
Yes, I agree with that. I stand by it. I think everyone should be treated equally, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender. Please go back, look at my writings. I have a strong commitment to that. And again, my pledge at the time when I was going up for confirmation to the Pensacola State Board was that that would be a continuing commitment for me there, and that will be the same commitment as I serve on the UWF Board of Trustees as well.
Would we go as far as to say, in addition to race and gender, what about religion? What if people have different religions? Do we support their right to an education as well?
Yes, of course, absolutely. And I think that's one of the concerning things I've heard. Certainly, I think many religious students at UWF would find some of the previous content offensive. And so I want to make sure that everyone, regardless of religion, regardless of their political views, feels comfortable to exercise their First Amendment rights on campus. And I'm excited to work with both institutions to make sure that's the case.
All right. Let me make sure, I had some notes, let me make sure that I've touched everything that I wanted to touch on. Okay, one of the things, or it seems that Governor Ron DeSantis kind of just has a target on UWF, going as far as to calling it an indoctrination camp. Do you agree with that? Have you seen signs of that?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and what I can say, and what I think I made clear to Dr. Saunders at the Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, is there are troubling things that have happened at the university in the past, including some of the social media posts in particular that I flagged. And so I'm committed to finding out why those types of posts were made, whether faculty and staff at the time thought they were appropriate, and most importantly, if there's agreement that they were inappropriate, and I think there is some agreement on that, how do we prevent similar things from happening again in the future?